Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cornbread Roses. I'm Austin, your friendly neighborhood organizer. And I'm here tonight with Jason.
Hello, comrades.
And I'd like to say Happy New Year. It's going to be a hell of a year, hell of a next 4 years. We'll talk a little bit about that. But this year, we're going to do a little year in review on some Alabama stuff and a little bit of national stuff out there, because hey, we live in a nation, we live in a society.
We live in a
Uh,
society.
uh, but yeah, so I think we want to start it off with a little DSA news. We had, uh, you know, in my opinion, a historic event yesterday that was driven by the folks down in Birmingham DSA and the up here, us North Alabama folks. We helped with some of the planning, and but we had a statewide conference at Saturn down in Birmingham, and I wasn't able to attend. I was cleaning my van out, uh, and I pulled my back just picking up some trash. So I almost immediately began crying, but yeah, I pulled my back out. I wasn't able to attend in person, but I was, thank goodness, able to attend on Zoom. And we had several of our members down there, and the it I couldn't tell on the Zoom itself, but there were quite a few folks in the audience as well. I think somewhere around 30 to 50 total. But yeah, it was, and you know, I'm not, uh, I don't have a complete grasp on Alabama's history of socialism, but it feels like this has been the first type of thing in the last 50 to 100 years that something like that occurred. So it felt very historic to me. And I was proud to take part and help with the planning. And yeah, I'm going to be pushing for a spring summer event, also statewide, but to include, you know, other organizations and partners out there to talk about how to make things better and then to create some plans of action. But we'll be continuing the discussion. We had folks from Mobile, we had folks from Montgomery, we had folks from Mississippi, uh, and the solidarity was there, and we covered a plethora of things. We did a mass movement training on what a mass movement is and how you go about making that happen, and you know getting folks together and how to execute things like that. We also had a leadership meeting with our steering committees and organizing committees and committee heads and working group heads. uh, we all really we really started a conversation that's going to be ongoing, and we talked about several things. you know One thing I mentioned is like the pillars of what we need to build on, like a mutual aid network across the state, electoralism, uh, co-ops and unions, and direct action. 'Cause I think those are should be our bread and butter, and that's how we get things to change. Um, but yeah, that was a little update on our statewide conference. And tomorrow up in Huntsville, uh, sign up starts at 5:30 if you want to speak. Our legislative folks, our representatives, elected officials from across the area are going to be at the Huntsville City Council room out on Fountain. And we've got folks showing up there. If you're interested, if you don't want to talk, just show up. If you want to talk and don't know what to say, we'll write you a speech. And if you know what you want to say, get up there at 5:30 and sign the little thing. I'm going to be up there with my cane and hunched over like like my dad used to, and I'm gonna get up there and talk about something. Ain't rightly figured out what I'm gonna talk about. There's a few issues on my mind, such as Palestine and veterans and unhoused folks and folks that immigrated here, and I'm gonna take some direction from our group and be a good soldier and figure out what gap I can fill. So yeah, but if you're interested, please attend. That's going to be tomorrow, starting at 5:30, and then the talking starts at 6 up at the Huntsville City Council. So yeah, I think that's about it for DSA news. I think so. Jason, what were you said you weren't able to attend yesterday, but you were out doing work though. Like, tell us what you were doing yesterday.
Oh, so I volunteer in Decatur at a center for the unhoused called Hands Across Decatur, and they have some old scrap metal they were looking to get rid of. So I got in my truck and we loaded it up a load at a time and took it over to the recycling center and got a little bit of money for them that way, because they were able to sell the scrap metal for some money. Just some old shelves that they didn't need anymore. And help sort donations, which is what I often do when I go over there. Like, people donate things and we go through them and sort them out and get them organized and put away so we know where they're at when people come and ask for them.
Is there any type of donations that y'all don't take? Can I bring all these cats that I got in my house up there?
Probably not cats. I don't think we need any cats.
All right. Oh, I tried. But hey, happy birthday, dog.
Oh yeah, it's my birthday today.
Yo, we are happy to be sharing a little bit of time with you on your birthday. And
yeah, it was all right. I didn't do much of anything today. I was supposed to log on and do some work, but I decided not to. Yeah, oh well, it'll be waiting for me tomorrow.
Ain't that the truth? And I'm enjoying my Rip It right here. If you want to sponsor us, please do. I got.
What is a Rip It?
So a Rip It is the cheapest energy drink you can find. About 3 months ago, it was $1.25 a piece, and they got bought out. Now it's $1.50 a piece, but it's also what they give all the soldiers and sailors and Marines out on deployment. So they got me. They've imprinted on me, and now I'm like, yeah, can I get a Rip It? Like every time my SO goes out, can you stop by and pick up a Rip It for me or two?
That's funny. Figures they would get the cheapest energy drink as the soldiers.
We would have it no other way.
Yeah,
that's what we like. This
drink for monsters.
Yeah. No way. That's for the Air Force. I'm sure the Air Force gets monsters. But so yeah. Wow. The year is over. We're already a week, almost a week 2 in the second coming of, oh God, I don't want to say his name yet. I'll wait till later. But yeah, we were going to talk about a few things. We were going to start with some Alabama stuff. And yeah, we might have our other co-hosts popping up here later. One of them just popped up in the chat. The White Monsters. Look at that. Yeah, I'm on those too. As a matter of fact, Mars, I'm on those White Monsters as well. But yeah, so let's just bring up. So we start with Mr. Figures. Oh, there he is. There he is. What's up, Mars? Say hey to the folks out there.
Y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, white monsters are really popular with military people as well.
What the hell? Why are we all the same? Damn. I guess like we're that indoctrination and dress right dress and all that. I guess it really does work, folks. It really does. Right. Oh, where am I at? There we go. Here we go. So I think we were gonna start with Mr. Figures.
Yeah, so Congressional District 2, which was created after a federal court ordered Alabama to redraw its congressional districts, and then shockingly, the U.S. Supreme Court, which is full of MAGA chuds, agreed. So
District has been drawn over like I don't even know how many times, hasn't it?
I don't know.
It was, if I recall correctly, it was redrawn several times before they got to this stage.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So basically, I was going to say, I feel like it was like a 6-year battle or something like that, but don't quote me on that. But go on.
And then, so Democrat Shamari Figures was recently sworn in as our new congressman from Alabama. He defeated Caroline Dobson by 10 points. So it's this, as the article says, it's the second time the district's turned blue since 1963. So yeah, Caroline Dobson was very wealthy and had seemingly a just bottomless purse to spend, and it didn't do her any good. She lost by 10 points. Figures, the only thing that gives me pause about Shamari Figures is that he was facing a crowded primary race that included people like Anthony Daniels and some others, and he was able to win in part thanks to money from cryptocurrency companies.
That he was. I think he got something like $3 million, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was 3. Caroline Dobson is the same one who used her family as a running talking point. She was from 5 generations of farmers. Turns out some of those farmers weren't getting paid.
Right. five generations in Alabama.
Yeah, you go back 5 generations, that's not a farm you had, that's a plantation.
It's still good news that he got elected, I think. Obviously, it was better than the alternative.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, he won by a whopping 10 points. And the other thing is that, Figures ran a campaign that was focused on, among other things, access to health care. And he even had Caroline Dobson saying that we should expand Medicaid or Medicare and that we should expand access to health care. So, like, it was an example of how you can push candidates to the left a little bit by running.
Yeah, there is a power in bringing up new ideas, and you know, because I guarantee you, and you know, not a big fan of access. I'm a bigger fan of universal rights, but yeah, you can in this state, like I'm pretty sure about probably 70% of folks would like expansion of healthcare and more access to healthcare, especially folks out in rural areas where the hospitals have been decimated.
So yeah,
Yeah.
at one point, Dobson did call on KI to expand Medicaid, so which is rather surprising from a Republican candidate, and that shows you how popular the healthcare topic was for people in that district. What are you saying, Mars? I'm sorry.
Definitely agree with what y'all said. I definitely think that you can push people further left just by bringing up things that people are struggling with, like healthcare.
Yeah, the economic conditions, like constantly, if you look at polls about from voters and stuff, you economic conditions, economic situation is usually number one. You know, um, I think this year, this past year, because of all the propaganda, I think for conservative voters, they actually had immigration up there as the top issue, but uh, consistently, it starts at the kitchen table.
And that kind of ties into the real big story of 2024, and that was Trump defeating Kamala Harris and like running a campaign on nothing but I'm not Trump, instead of running a campaign based on responding to the interests and needs of constituents. I'm sure that on her website there was some 50-page PDF white paper detailing her plan for means tested tax credits or something. But that's not the same thing as saying I'm going to fix your healthcare issue in point blank plain language.
Yeah, I think the best little idea she had was about some uh, helping first time home buyers, which that's all well and good. And once again, I'm into universalities over here, housing first, universal basic housing, things like that.
Oh
But
yeah, I'm all about universal programs. I think it leads to such an elegant solution. There was a really good article about that in Jacobin this week, um, from Matt Brunig, talking about how universality solves a lot of problems in public policy. So it's titled "Universalism Fixes Flawed Welfare States." And if you read Jacobin, if you go to jacobinmag or jacobin.com, you can find it. So, and it makes the case for a universal social democratic welfare state, which I thought was a very powerful read.
yeah, there it is. Look at me. I'm getting quicker. We'll bring that up real quick. Oh God, what is Bidenism? Uh, okay, sorry about that. Sorry y'all had to see that part. Here we go. Yeah, Matt Bruning, universalism fixes flawed welfare states. Yeah, imagine that. No means testing. No little weird constructions of this person and that, and uh, gets this, and yeah, maybe we're we all deserve decency. Maybe that's a, a fundamental truth of life.
So yeah, his points are to provide welfare benefits personally, so not based on their family, but to them personally, so that for example, unemployed people would get unemployment benefits regardless of how much money people in their family or household make. And of course, eliminating means testing, which is the fetish of neoliberalism for some reason. So based on their status and not based on their income.
Yeah. This situation right here that he states in the first paragraph: thousands of Americans cohabitate but don't marry because doing so would result in the loss of Medicaid eligibility. Marriage penalties and bonuses are just part of why we need a universal social democratic welfare state. I know plenty of people that are in this situation, and there's other programs that would not be allowed to take part in if they were married and whatnot. And it's just ridiculous, especially when we're the richest country in the history of the world.
Right. Means testing, it adds complications. When you talk about making people jump through hoops to get benefits, the hoops are almost always related to means testing. And we should just make the programs universal and delivered to you personally, regardless of your household situation.
But totally. And we were talking about Trump and his election. He also had a couple snipers, right-wing snipers, show up in and around him. So he's had a hell of a year.
There's also I haven't really looked into the news on it, but there's the Tesla car that crashed into his tower.
Yeah, there was a soldier, a special forces soldier, still on duty, not retired or nothing like that. And he actually filled up the Tesla with some fireworks and a few other things, and set it off and committed suicide. And one of the things he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that and he did this in front of Trump Tower in one of Trump's hotels in Las Vegas, is that, basically if he had just killed himself, nobody would care and nobody would notice. But he felt the need to make a spectacle because Americans only seem to respond to spectacle. So he did as much, and he left a few last words, and I haven't really reviewed everything, but it was something along the lines of there's war crimes being committed, and he can't stand for it no more. And he was in the military 18 years and still on duty when he did all this. So, yeah.
He said he held no grudge against President-elect Donald Trump. And in a note, he expressed his need to cleanse my mind of the lives lost and the burden of the lives I took. And that comes from The Mirror, which I think is a UK magazine.
Yes, they are UK folks. So Trump got elected. The Democrats failed. They did their whole "we're not Trump" thing, rather than here we have great policies. Here are great policies. Simply put, if they really wanted to make some noise and do something, they could copy a very famous Democrat, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he came up with a second Bill of Rights before he passed away in office. Why haven't we ever heard of that? Why haven't we ever heard of that, current Dems?
Yeah. And the story, regardless of what's being said, is not that America broke right, but rather that left-leaning voters stayed home and didn't see a reason to come out and vote against Trump.
Yeah, only 29% of eligible voters voted for Trump. I mean, they couldn't even get to a third. you know.
So there was there was a huge collapse. There was a huge collapse in support between Biden and Harris. Biden had way more voters than Harris had. And we can talk about, we can explore some of the reasons why, but the anti-Trump side largely didn't turn out. So it's not the case that America has become hopelessly right wing, and we don't have to feel like that's the case and run and hide.
Yep, exactly.
I saw a lot of people just saying that, hey, what's the point? Like, they're both basically saying the same thing except to a different degree.
Yeah, the disillusionment of people, and understandably so. It's hard not to be disillusioned in this day and age. With effectively we have an oligarchy and a plutocracy. We're ran by billionaires. You look on Trump's cabinet coming in. I think the poorest some bitch on it is only worth about $200 million. Like the rest of them are billionaires, and you got a couple billionaires talking about government efficiency, while they run scams. The Vivek guy, he's getting, I think he's getting put up on charges for some of that, and the other guy got all his money from his daddy running, having slaves in an emerald mine. So these are the people we're dealing with.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that all plays out with Vivek and Elon, because they're already having disagreements on immigration, because Vivek and Elon want they want cheaper labor to be able to come to the U.S. It's part of their business model.
Yeah, very specific labor that is it the H1B, I think they're called, visas.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because American workers are too fucking stupid to do the work. Which
isn't true at all.
No, it's not. It's not true. But yeah, you love to see it though. You love to see it. There's a little bit of, leopards ate my face vibe going on. There's a little, and
their propensity for infighting is going to be a huge opportunity for us. I'm sorry to step on you.
No, you're good. Speak on that opportunity.
So, yeah, it's an opportunity because they're not unified. They're not monolithic. They're divided. They're easily torn over these issues. There's a fundamental contradiction, maybe you would call it, between what the wealthy people want. They want cheap, docile labor. They want immigrant labor. They want they don't want tariffs. And between that and Trump's more populist base, I think there is a little bit of a disconnect, and that's going to stymie them from getting some things done, hopefully.
Yeah, the contradictions in fascism creates its own demise. And oh man, house is burning down. Okay, fire has been extinguished.
That's good.
I don't know if y'all heard that or not, but I'm pretty sure y'all did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So
and just to bring back to Alabama, the Alabama Democrats, something really needs to happen there, because they continue, despite Shamari Figures' victory, they're having some significant troubles.
Well, I will say there is a bright spot with that special election with Maryland Lands. She's very much on the side of LGBTQ rights and stuff, and she really focused on women's rights in her campaign, and the voters went from like I think a 2-point Trump uh, type district to 23 points that she beat her opponent with, which she 21 point beat by her, which was a 23 point flip, right? But she ran on, and over 70%. I think it's like at 74%. Alabamians, are pro abortion rights and pro women's rights. So we constantly are told that we're divided and that we don't agree and all this other stuff. And you look at Alabama, which is supposed to be one of the most conservative places in the country, and you look at the issue of women's rights, and a huge majority agrees. So what we're faced with is a very small minority of people, controlling things. We see
So
it at
yeah,
the level, and we see it at the national level.
if you don't know, Marilyn Lands ran for the Alabama House of Representatives in Huntsville in District 10 and was elected 62 to 37 on a campaign that was focused on reproductive rights, opposing Alabama's ban on abortion, and supporting IVF, which is another story that happened this year. So she ran on a unapologetically pro-choice campaign and won in a landslide.
Yeah, I think nationally, like the approval rate for abortion rights is something like 70 or 80%. It's really not an issue. Um, it's just been made something an issue
Yeah.
Well,
by the people with power.
the
Yeah.
anti-choice side has organized, and they have won election after they spent decades winning elections and organizing power and putting people in the Supreme Court. And we've got to get equally organized and equally committed to electoral work and other non-electoral work.
Yeah, I mean, they're winning with 29% of people voting for them nationally. Like, that's, disgusting. Like, we're giving away our democracy, what we have of it, by being apathetic and by being disillusioned, etc. But you mentioned IVF. That was another big thing that happened in Alabama.
So the Alabama Supreme Court ruled in a ruling that was full of direct Bible quotes and that read almost like a Sunday school sermon, that frozen embryos are children and have legal protection, and therefore IVF, in vitro fertilization.
There we go. There we go. You got it.
I got it. I got there eventually. Sorry. Was illegal according to the state of Alabama. And even though the ruling was insane and full of, like I said, direct Bible quotes, and at one point the Chief Justice Tom Parker even said, "You can't do this without incurring the wrath of a holy God," or words to that effect. You can't destroy children without incurring the wrath of a holy God.
Yeah, and I'd like to remind y'all that Mr. Parker fella, his whole little 7 mandates, and he's a white supremacist, y'all. Like,
yeah, he is, but he's not going to be the Chief Justice for long. So he's term limited by his age, because Alabama judges can't run past the age of 70, and he's 73, so he wasn't able to run this time, and so a Republican woman was able to take his seat, so that she's going to be the Supreme Court justice here in Alabama, and her name will come to me in a minute.
but yeah, the IVF stuff, and I believe it was sparked by just there were some embryos. I think they were considered embryos that fell on the floor.
That's right. They got destroyed in some way.
And that's where all this started.
I remember made a joke about this because whatever happened is just out of the blue. It's completely ridiculous. And I made a joke that like the next thing you know, they'll make corn illegal too, because those are potential children as well. And then I think like a month or two later, yeah, that was also something that they pushed. So definitely crazy on that front.
So the problem is this: Alabama state law actually says that life begins in conception. And so you could make an argument that the justices had no choice but to rule against IVF because that is what state law says. That is what the legislatures have written. And judges can't make law from the bench. They have to go by what the legislature has written. And the Alabama state legislature has passed laws saying that embryos are children. So what else were they supposed to? How else were they supposed to have ruled? Like now, obviously, the people who made this ruling are insane, anti-choice people, but as a matter of state law, that's actually what Alabama state law says: embryos are children and have to be treated as such. So they were only following state law to the letter. So I don't know what else you want judges to do.
Hey, I don't know. Say that shit ain't right. I don't know. I ain't no lawyer.
Yeah, they could theoretically have overturned they could have ruled that embryos are not children and overturned the law. But I think that would have been, I'm not a lawyer either, and I think that would have been hard to base in law, especially since Alabama state law said, I guess they could have declared it unconstitutional or overturned it in some way, but they didn't.
You know, pretty soon though, it'll be a moot point because they're just going to take all those embryos and go put them in these sacks that they invented out there, and where they're growing chickens and goats and stuff, and just start growing the next generation for labor exploitation. So we have that little dystopian dream to consider.
Yeah, I think the really strange thing about this is IVF is designed for people that can't have children to be able to have children. That is, I mean, it's children being born basically, and they're against that. They're against choice too. It doesn't really make any kind of sense at all.
Well, they're full of conscience. Don't try to apply logic to them, and with all them Bible verses, I ain't no Bible expert, but pretty sure in the Bible it talks about life beginning with the first breath. So once again, try to apply any type of logic or base it on anything that they say they believe or whatever, and you ain't gonna figure it out because it ain't gonna make no sense, because the whole shit is to be contradictory to themselves and to us.
Well, the ball's in the state legislature's court. They can repeal the laws that say that embryos are children.
And
that require them to admit that they were wrong, and that would go back on 50 years of political pandering to the evangelical right, which is unlikely to happen in the absence of electing lots of Democrats or other people.
Yeah, and I'll pull this up when I get a moment, but I believe that there's a bill regarding IVF pre-filed already, but you're gonna have to give me a moment if we're gonna find it. But there's some other stuff Some more stuff happened this year, y'all, not just this. I tell you what, during my research or whatever, I went to Wikipedia's year in review, and they already started with 2025 January, but it is highly thorough. It is every day. So if you want to really see what happened last year, I highly suggest you go to Wikipedia's year in review stuff, because the articles that came out are pale in comparison, because like I said, is every day. They track every day. So yeah, check that out, folks, if you want to have a blast from the past.
And the way I stay on top of Alabama news is that I subscribe to Arise's daily news digest. So if you go to Alabama Arise, and it's alarise.org.
I'll drop it in the chat, because you are correct that they do an outstanding job on that newsletter. Like, if I'm not looking at it every day, I'm looking at it damn near every day. But yeah,
And
some others.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, we had to try to navigate here from the IVF stuff. Unless anybody else got anything they want to speak on with it.
There's not much to say there, other than they did pass an immunity law, but I don't think that IVF clinics have restarted in the state. And so, yeah, they're penalizing people who want to become parents in the name of.
I think KIV received like an extreme amount of backlash from getting that passed. So I don't think that they will retry it anytime in the near future, at least.
But that's one of the tasks we have to do in Alabama is, I mean, make headway in the state legislature for sure. And one of the things we have to do is put pressure on them to undo these laws saying that embryos are fully developed human beings, which is just not true. It's scientifically unsupported. It's religiously unsupported. It's just not accurate.
Yeah. But DSA took part in a Pride event earlier this year, but but there was some controversy with that, because it went from being one Pride event to two Pride events, and I believe it was our first official tabling event ever by North Alabama DSA that Jason, that you executed. Was that the first one?
That was the first time I was tabling. Yeah. So the Rocket City Pride decided to allow the log cabin Republicans who are anti-trans to have a table at the Pride event. So they claim to be LGB Republicans, and they're all in favor of standard issue Republican topics, and they're anti-trans and repeated a number of lies about children having surgeries and other false things. And there was a backlash, and several organizations pulled out of Rocket City Pride as a result. And there was an alternative event called the Rainbow Trouble All Grass No Turfs, TERFs, that was held in the wake of that. It was organized by some people that I've become somewhat acquainted with, and I would love to have them on the show sometime.
Yeah.
And so DSA was there to show solidarity with our trans comrades, along with several other organizations. And the DJ and more than half of the drag queens from Rocket City Pride pulled out and went to the alternative event instead. So we had a great time. We got a lot of people to sign up for at least for our newsletter, if not become members. And we had killer drag shows. DSA provided free snacks and free food, so it was like supposed to be like a picnic type thing. So people brought food and contributed to the table, but DSA brought the lion's share. One of the benefits of being organized, and yeah, I think we did good. We made some good contacts. We made good rapport with the community there, and more importantly, we showed solidarity to our trans allies.
That's right. I was up there with the kids. The teenagers. I don't know what the hell they were doing. They walked off into the distance as teenagers do, but our younger ones, they both loved the shows that were being put on, and were mesmerized by the by the ensemble. But yeah, it was well done. And if y'all don't know, if y'all missed that pun earlier, TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminism, which, I mean, that's a contradiction in terms in itself. Like, how can you be radical and then fucking hate people? But, that's me.
Yeah, and it's funny because they invented the word TERF, and now that we started calling them TERFs, they claim that TERF is a slur, even though they're the ones that coined the term. So, but now they say TERF is a slur, not to call them that, which, I wish it were a slur so I could call them that and it would be a slur, but there should be a slur for them because they're bad people. But yeah, it was the best Pride event I've ever been to. It was just a picnic. There was lots of solidarity. There was lots of just joy, trans joy, queer joy. I had a blast, even just sitting working the table. And there were some killer shows. And there was just a lot of good feelings and good vibes. And it wasn't just the experience of walking around and being sold things in a Pride event brought to you by local defense contractors in Huntsville.
Yeah, they also allowed Toyota there, which just recently came out and said that they were scrapping their DEI program to be inclusive to gay people, right? So it's definitely a strange choice, right? Allow the log cabin Republicans, allow people that don't like gay people at your Pride Festival. I don't know. Very strange.
The contradictions.
And Rainbow Trouble has put on a couple of other events that DSA has attended and again had lots of success with. So apparently snacks is the secret to tabling. You can get lots of people to come and talk to you if you have free snacks. And yeah, people signed up for our newsletter. We probably got, a good couple dozen people to sign up. Picked up a couple of members. And so yeah, it was a very productive relationship that we formed with the Rainbow Trouble crowd. And if you're on Facebook, I think they're on there as Rainbow Trouble. So if you look up Rainbow Trouble, you can find this organization and get plugged into their events because they do a great job putting on events, and it's a staunchly LGBT, all of us and none of us organization, and I was very proud to be part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
They've had some contact with the Rocket City Pride folks, and I think Rocket City Pride is trying to do some things to rectify its mistake. I'm not as in the loop on that as I ought to be, but we'll see what shakes out next year or this coming year if we're going to have competing Pride rallies again.
I believe that they finally came out and apologized. Did an official apology, not a half-assed apology like they did before. And then they said that they were going to look into the legal issues around rejecting log cabin Republicans to be there. But
Okay.
I definitely think Rainbow Trouble is definitely a better option.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look forward to doing another tabling with them for sure. The the organizers were sweet as pie, uh, and on point. It feels like though, like tabling goes through seasons. Feels like tabling season's all done up for a while. Uh, I can't. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just now noticing this, but it seems like it's a bit too damn cold out there right now, and nobody wants to do shit outside. At least here in Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it won't be until about March or so that it's tabling time again. When it gets spring and the weather gets nice, people will be out at Big Spring Park, and we can go out there with a table and a couple of boxes of free donuts and talk to folks and maybe win some people over for socialism.
Yeah.
So and find other events that we can appear at and table. I was kind of down on tabling, but we got really good results from it this year, and so I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, the level up to tabling is when we start going across this whole state, knocking on doors, talking to people, and we'll get there. We'll get there. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, I would love to see us do some canvassing and some deep canvassing, and that requires training and practice. And I think in Huntsville, you have to get a permit in order to do it these days.
Really?
They passed some city ordinance that says you have to have a permit to go be a door-to-door salesman, and I think that apply. I think there's a religious exemption, but I think for a group like ours, I believe that we have to go get a permit.
Oh God!
Don't quote me on that, but I'm
We
pretty
should have started a church. God damn it!
I know, right? It's not too late.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll get out there. There's hey, maybe there's some grant out there that we can get and hire some folks to do it. I'd be happy to do that too, because I definitely can't do shit right now. Yeah. Oh my God. Whew. I know I seem like jovial and stuff, but this is a complete act at the moment. Yeah. Woo! It hurts to breathe, folks. But yeah, that was incredible job on your part, Jason. I appreciate you. I do. You led the way. You took the initiative, and that's what people got to do to make things better. Y'all gonna have to take some initiative out there. And if you lost on where to start, we're here for you, and we'll point you in the right direction, and get you going. All you need is an idea to start. That's all you need. You got an idea of something, we can make it happen. But there's some other stuff that happened in Alabama. I'm gonna kind of quickly run through some of it, and we kind of can, say a couple words here and there on it. And yeah, there's the Veteran Affairs debacle, which is basically Kay Ivey wanted to get rid of the veteran director in Alabama because he believes in mental health and taking care of veterans, and she fucking don't. And she invoked literally the supremacy clause as part of trying to get rid of him. So that's been a whole thing. They came to terms on it, but yeah.
There was a strange story.
Huh?
There was a strange story.
Yeah. Well, and it also included the Department of not just the Veteran Affairs stuff, the Mental Health Board or Mental Health Department as well, or board, or I can't remember the exact body. But
yeah, the MDHA, the Mental Health and Development Agency, or something like that. I think, or MHDA. It's something like that. But yeah, so the mental health department in Alabama, like, it started out, the state legislature passed some law saying that they were going to provide for the mental health of veterans, but they were going to go through the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs instead of the mental health department. And the mental health department didn't like that. So it started off as this sort of territorial spat between two agencies. That's what the article is alluding to when it says an interagency squabble. So the head of the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs claims that he was blindsided, quote unquote, by the law and didn't intend to bypass the other agency. Didn't intend to go over their heads and get money directly that should have gone to them, debatably. And it led to an ethics report, and it led to Ivy calling for his resignation. He first agreed and then changed his mind, and then Ivy fired him.
Yeah. And it looks like Miss Ivy is expected to support legislation to make the commissioner a direct appointment by the governor versus the Alabama Veterans Affairs Board. Now, I just looked, and doesn't seem to be, to go back a little bit, there doesn't seem to be any IVF bills filed so far this session, and it doesn't appear to be any veterans stuff filed this session. But I tell you what, if they fucking do, I'll be on the phone to every one of them mugs that I can, because her dumb ass don't need to be appointing nobody. So yeah, and it goes a little deeper into it, all that. Another thing that happened this year, the Occupational Licensure Board.
I didn't follow this story at all.
So I've followed a little bit. Some of it was it mentions it. They were part of it was trying to make it easier for like folks coming from out of state, especially military spouses, is what they were. I think some of it was working on, but they're changing a lot of stuff. Like, for instance, I've got some friends that are massage therapists, and they're trying to change the standards on them, and like where they need to be working in a medical facility and stuff. So it's a whole, like, they talk about small government, and then they want to change all this, that, and the other. But they issue licenses, thousands of workers. I think it's much more than just thousands of workers. But yeah, another part of it, it's all over the place. It's like several different little things. I watched one of their board meetings, and they're asking this and that and the other, but it seems like some legislators pet project. But yeah, and right here mentions management of the massage therapy board. So seems that they want to help some folks, like military spouses, but then also jack up prices and change standards of things that have been working, and the makeup of the licensing boards themselves is also part of it. So it's not just, it's a little complicated. Might be the most complicated in the state next to IVF. But moving on. Oh, Mars, I think you got something to say about some of this, don't you? Prison construction moving forward. The biggest fucking prison in the world, or the most expensive prison in the world. We might get two of them. with funds from COVID money and funds from the damn education fund. So yeah, look at that. All these new beds.
More than $1
Trying to-
billion. It's going to cost the K Ivy Correctional Facility. It's now projected to cost more than $1 billion.
Oh, it'll double by the time it's finished. It'll double.
It'll cost much more. Sure that they'll get more federal funding for it. Yeah, we talked about some of this in the last episode.
Yeah.
We talked about how this ties into labor in Alabama. A lot of these people that go to prison are being used as very cheap labor. This is definitely going to cause issues. People trying to organize their workplaces. Now, I imagine with this $1 billion mega prison, a lot of those people are going to be sent out to work at different places. The KIV needs workers at. So it can cause a real problem if people are organizing and then they get fired and replaced with somebody from one of these prison farms.
Mhm.
And you're seeing a big jump in Alabama as far as the labor movement goes. Just like you see nationwide, there are more unions forming in Alabama, which is pretty rare. Alabama isn't a big union state. So
I did hear some news that one of our folks, Adam Keller, was given a little lesson on the history of unions in Alabama, and actually, Alabama is currently number one with like rate of growth of unions in the South. It's in
yeah,
the South,
massive.
but that
And Kay Ivey is very, very anti-union. She's even called them big union. Um, they're trying to steal money, blah, blah, blah.
oh yeah,
So
that's
she
all.
definitely has an issue with the growth of unions in Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, we recently put right to work laws into our state constitution. So, like, right to work is established and this is enshrined, as they put it, in the state constitution.
Mm-hmm. And if we couple things. First off, thank God we're breaking it up into two phases to allow construction to begin while additional funds are sought. Now, I tell you what, man, they made it hard. Some organizers made it hard for them to even get that first collection of money. They finally did after at least one bank turned them down. So let's hope this thing just stays half completed out there. And another thing right here is,
They've got to get people to staff it.
well, and arrest more people to put in it. Because look right here, current ADOC, Alabama Department of Corrections, currently housing 20,383 inmates, and is up from 17,000 3 years prior. And I think in previous episode about the judiciary, we explained all that pretty well. So if you're listening, go back, check out that episode. We had an incredible guest, Tahira from the Huntsville Bail Fund, on it. And yeah, so
Yeah, I want to say,
yeah, go ahead.
in Atlanta, they have the issue with Cop City. This falls right in line with that because what's going to come with a new prison is you need more police to lock people up. And I really think that would definitely be the next step after the prison is built, is beefing up our police to lock more people up.
Man,
And I also wanted to say, it might have come off a different way, but there isn't a contradiction with the prison people in prison working at factories and the factory workers. The issue is that those factory workers who get laid off will also possibly end up in prison as cheaper labor.
Ain't that the truth? And hey, they might not hire more cops. They might just use robots. Well, it's new age, y'all. I can't wait for RoboCop come up at the house. A drone just comes in, snatching people up off the street. Yeah, they might be getting creative. So yeah, moving on a little bit. Oh my goodness, overtime tax cut bigger than expected.
Still pretty paltry.
Yeah. K Ivy, and so you pay your federal taxes, you pay your state taxes, but yeah,
There's
somehow,
talk in the way though.
well, it
So-
says right here now Alabamians will now leaders will have to decide if Alabamians get to keep the cut or some version of it, or do nothing and let it expire after June. So hey, you got a little bit of something for like, maybe 12 months, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling they'll let it expire, and or maybe they pass it anyway, and you just don't get overtime because of all the federal rulings on overtime. Maybe it works like that. Everybody comes out ahead, and you pay more taxes, like that.
Well, I think this cut was passed in the context of thinking they were going to pass the comprehensive gambling bill, which would have allowed casinos to operate in Alabama. But the bill ultimately failed in the Senate. And so they didn't get to pass gambling. And so all that money that was normally going to the education trust funds, they were hoping to replace with gambling. And when that didn't happen, now there's talk of pulling this. So, because of the cost.
Yeah, and you got Mr. Daniels in Huntsville said he's going to refile, and we got Mr. Orr over here in the Senate said it needs to be capped. So yeah, you know what? This is when you give workers more money, it's called trickle up economics, y'all. Just I've coined this term. It's now official, trademark, copyright, all that. Trickle up economics, where it trickles up to the people you got to pay bills to. So still a mess. The messy medical marijuana rollout continues to stall. Oh my goodness. I've followed a little bit of this. It's it's they had to make it complicated. They had to make it complicated.
So they passed medical marijuana 5 years ago, but there are no medical marijuana companies who have started operating in the state because the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission is in legal action that several companies have brought challenging the licensing process. So they say that the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission has failed to follow the Alabama Administrative Procedures Act, which it's a state law that says that here are the parameters for any state agency awarding limited licenses. And it's obvious that the AMCC actually did fail to follow the act. So there have been several attempts to go back and fix it, but they still have refused to follow the APA guidelines. So
yeah, and I honestly, part of it is I looked into the licensing fees, and for instance, if you want to be a cultivator, i.e., grow the shit, You need to have had a farm for like 5 years plus, something like that, and it's a $50,000 license. And on top of that, they're only going to allow marijuana in pill form. So if you don't have medical coverage, you can't even get it. And that's another thing. Grow it, turn it into a little pill, have to go to the doctor to get it. No personal grow license, no. So, I mean, once
Yeah,
again,
I think Alabama, if they do legalize, it will take the direction of like pretty much every other state where it's in the hands of capitalists, the people with the money. There's not going to be personal grow licenses, or it's just always going to go to people with tons of money.
yeah, I mean, look right there. 9 companies to grow. I mean, that says it all. What happened to free market and competition, fellas? What's
I think
up?
Washington had that where people could grow. And there wasn't an issue with it. And then they sold it off to, I believe it was like 3 different companies, is what they were talking about. So only those 3 companies could grow in the state of Washington.
Well,
So yeah, well, they're allowed to grow it, but they can't sell it, and not until this litigation is dealt with.
Yeah, there's a very weird thing too as well. Delta 8 is allowed
yeah,
to be sold in gas stations. You can buy edibles. But if you get pulled over, cops can still arrest you for it. Very strange.
oh man, ain't that sweet? Ain't that nice for us? Here you go. Buy this so we can arrest your ass as soon as you leave the store. So, a little moving on here. Oh my God. Medicaid expansion talks grow. Yeah. Something that would provide billions in benefits. In Madison County alone, is estimated that it would be around $2 billion between like improved productivity and less loss of time on jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So, but they don't really give a shit about all that because the cruelty is the point. Stay in your place. Uh, you dumbass. We want you in the hole working. But yeah, so this has been pushed by Democrats, been pushed by Alabama Rise, who I've met their lead on that. Um, my mind is terrible, my memory is terrible, but I believe Debbie was their lead on that, and she's an incredible person. Is really cool to meet her, and she's incredibly well informed and an expert on this. And if you want to help on that, you can talk to Alabama Rise. They were really leading the way on this Medicaid expansion. But it seems also that they're interested in this little public-private partnership, private-public, whatever, where they increase the Blue Cross Blue Shield monopoly in Alabama. And Blue Cross Blue Shield stands at about 87% of the market share of Alabama. And, expanding this would cover about 300,000 or so people. And all those folks would be administered by the state and be administered by Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I think we're going to have to wait until there's a new governor to see any movement on Medicaid expansion, because I believe that KIV is pretty opposed to it.
Yes, she is. She's very opposed to it. And rumor has it that it's because it's too close to the word Obamacare, and Democrats like it, and all the workers like it, and yada yada yada. But yeah, it seems that she's got her heels dug in on people fucking living. The bitch. Anyway, fuck her. Sorry.
It definitely falls in line with her politics. She's very much like, because you would say, cultural warrior, as they would say.
She sounds like a dumb motherfucker to me.
Every time she speaks.
Yeah. Because she's literally killing people. Literally killing people. So, yeah. Anyway. Moving on. Alabama's ballot harvesting measure adopted and challenged.
So this was another good news article story out of last year, in which the Republicans made it illegal to do what's called ballot harvesting, where you turn in your ballot to a third party instead of going to the site yourself and handing it in. So Alabama made it a felony. Made it a felony for you to bring your to pay another person for assisting with absentee ballots, and there were other penalties and things established for helping people and turning these things in and turning ballots in. So you can't collect absentee ballots.
Yeah, so
a third party.
If you blind, like, you can't get somebody to help you.
Well, the law did carve out and did make exceptions for people with disabilities. So it did have, if you're helping a family member or if you have a disability, you can. There were exceptions in place for that. But a number of state-based organizations, and I don't remember who it was. One of them was the NAACP,
the League of Women Voters, as well.
Yeah. So they stopped their voter outreach operations because they were scared of being prosecuted. And then a number of organizations brought the law to court, and a federal judge agreed with them and issued an injunction preventing the enforcement. So ballot harvesting was able to happen in Alabama.
Ballot, where'd they get that fucking word from? Ballot harvesting.
Ballot harvesting. It's also called ballot collecting.
Or how about helping a motherfucker? Why don't they call it that? Yeah. It's interesting, these terms they come up with to instill fear and stuff, because like that term doesn't even describe what is actually happening. It sounds like somebody's coming to take people's ballot and do what they will with it, versus coming and helping somebody with their ballot. And it seems we lost Jason. Oh, come on back. But yeah. So we talked a little bit about this already. Jason, you might have to restart, or but Democrats flip congressional district in historic victory. We already hit on that with Mr. Figures. And we mentioned Miss Lands right there as well. There you are. All right.
Yeah, with that, suddenly my browser decided to block my microphone. I don't know why.
Because you spitting the truth. What type browser you got? Is it a Chromium version? That's why.
No, it's I use Firefox.
Oh man, you're on point then. Although they are about to integrate AI into their browser.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we all fucking need. Yeah.
We gotta start like 10 new nuclear power plants now for AI because of all the power it consumes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10
it's an insane amount of power.
10
Love
times
them.
more than the average search. So you search something on Google, you search the same thing on Chat GPT, 10 times more expensive from an energy standpoint. So yeah, really good product, guys. Really good. And it fucking lies to you and hallucinates. So yeah, thank goodness. There's a inter-party challenge. Don't really give a shit.
Yeah, this story is less interesting. Although Barry Moore is a lot less moderate than Carl was. So Moore is a Freedom Caucus guy. Yeah, you can see there he's calling people patriots, whereas Carl called them disruptive and harmful to his country. So yeah, you can see like Moore is a little bit more of a chud than Carl was.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
He sounds like a Russian op already, though. More skeptical of funding efforts to combat Russia's invasion.
yeah.
Oh, look at that. We made it. That was some of the top stories in Alabama for the year.
I would
Good.
like to add one more, and that is Alabama's new method of performing executions with nitrogen gas. So it had never been tested until today, or not until
They
today,
bought
but
it
until
illegally
last
as
year.
well, didn't they?
But never before tested until last year,
Yep.
and it was performed twice. No, I'm sorry, 3 men were killed by this method, but essentially suffocating to death. And according to a news article I'm reading, witnesses describe these men as gasping and convulsing for extended periods of time during their executions.
Yep. Exactly. So cruel and unusual punishment, abolish the death penalty. But yeah, they're basically like slowly strangling the person. On top of the fact that the person administering the thing, if something goes wrong in there, a line leaks, et cetera, that they too could begin to be murdered.
Yeah, there was some question about whether it was safe for the people performing it. And they went through with it anyway.
Hey, you know, somebody has to sacrifice for the greater good. And why not it be a worker, even if that worker is with the Department of Corrections? Why can't it be a worker? You know, like sacrifice yourself so we can make sure we can kill people with state violence. Let's do that. Make that happen. Thank you.
But that's all I really had. I kind of had, I think we're about at a time. I kind of wanted to talk about the failure of gambling this year and what the socialist position on gambling was written more large. And maybe we can hash that out next time.
I'm sure there's going to be a bill this year, as there seems to be a bill every year about it.
Right. There was a bill last year, a comprehensive gambling plan that failed in the Senate, and that was one of the many failures to get anything done through the Alabama legislature this year. I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, like gambling is basically it's a regressive tax on the most vulnerable. On the other hand, I personally love to gamble. I love playing craps and blackjack.
Dog, I love poker. Oh my God. Oh my God. And you know what? How many thousands of years has gambling been around? Like, it's not going anywhere, folks.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere, folks.
So we can talk about like the impact that it has on the poor. Maybe I'll get my numbers together about like who is it that's doing the most gambling and why it's essentially a regressive tax. Ultimately, like I said, I'm inconsistent on this because I personally love gambling. It's probably one of the areas in which I'm a bad socialist. If there were a casino in Huntsville I could drive to, I'd probably go there every weekend and play blackjack. Oh, we got Robert.
Robert. All right.
Hello. I know I'm on the back end, but I did want to add to the discussion the fact that, like you'd said, gambling is kind of been around since forever. And we have the state of Alabama citizens have sent somewhere between 15 to 20,000 students to school on our gambling dollars through college programs paid by gambling across multiple states in our southern region. Not to mention that they sometimes take some of that gambling money and then lobby our legislative members to make sure that they don't pass it because they'd lose some profit.
Yeah. I always heard that it was Big Bingo in Alabama that pressed hard against gambling bills and lottery bills because they didn't want to lose all the money that they get from running bingo nights. But I think we would be remiss before we go if we didn't talk about Palestine. And, we'll probably do a bigger show on it, but, if you ain't heard, there's a genocide occurring. It's being funded with American taxpayer money. This support of Israel and their open air concentration camps that they have Palestinian people in for decades now, and they started, in the 1946, 1947 with driving Palestinians out with the Nakba. If you don't know, Jesus was from Palestine. So, yeah, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that for a moment and maybe some of the ties to Alabama that Alabama has to Israel. For instance, we have invested something on the order of $10 million in Israeli war bonds that, Israel's just had their credit downgraded. So now we got the state investing money in Israel who can't pay their bills because, Israel, hey, they got free education. They got free health care, and we sit there, prop them up, give them money, billions and billions of dollars over decades. So I'd like to, not only that, but Mars, did you have anything that you were kind of thinking about saying about this?
Yeah, so you were talking about Alabama specifically. A lot of the bombs and other ordnances being used in Israel right now is made in Huntsville. Troy also takes a big part in it, but most of the bombs are made here, right in Huntsville. And all the defense contractors are here. They've been moving more in Huntsville. There's a big street of them now. All of our roads are messed up, but that street somehow is completely perfect. So it's definitely a big issue in Huntsville.
Well, those CEOs, they can't have their, Mercedes and Maseratis and Audis, they can't have the suspension be tested too much. Yeah, we that is occurring. We also and it's been like that for a while. And we got Task Force Israel in Alabama, and the previous BDS laws that were passed about how contractors can't stand in solidarity with like different businesses can't stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. So it's
It's definitely made it more difficult because there are a lot of people that want to come out and protest and speak up, but they're worried that they'll lose their jobs, worried that they'll become shunned from their entire career.
yeah.
But I will say that the JVP, DSA, has grown a lot since this has taken place recently, and they're fighting back and protesting, especially in Birmingham and Huntsville.
Yeah, and you were saying JVP, that's the Jewish Voices for Peace, right?
That's right.
You know, there's plenty of Jewish folks out there that stand against the Israeli government and what they're doing.
Palestinian Youth Movement as well
Yeah,
is huge in Birmingham.
and there's a Palestinian Christian organization down there as well that's standing against things, standing against basically what happens over and over again, which is rich people going around fucking with poor people. Hey, that's the grift, folks. You know, I love watching me some conspiracy stuff on YouTube and whatever, but I really believe in only one conspiracy, and that rich people are fucking with poor people, and that's the conspiracy, and it's right in front of you. You know, say before we go, anybody got anything else? Robert, you got anything on your mind? You were at the conference yesterday. I was supposed to drive you. I apologize for being a broken old man and not being able to ride with you. I really look forward to it. Robert, you there? Okay. I think Robert's there. He seems to be in contemplation on things. But
Can you hear me now?
yes, sir. There we go.
What I was going to say was on the Palestine advocacy piece, there currently is if you believe in, how do I put this? If you think that all avenues should be explored through advocacy, those who are willing to talk to Democrats, there is a upcoming DNC chair race in which members will be able to decide who will be controlling the party roughly for the next 4 years. Understandably, this is not a good form of advocacy, as the chance that the person in question that wins is not going to be very helpful. However, it is nice to talk to your representatives. Every single state has DNC representatives, and put your feedback in when it comes time for them to make that vote, because at the end of the day, if they don't hear from you, they can just assume that whatever they want, you want, which is really not the case half the time. Okay. As for Saturday, I had a great time. I'm sorry you couldn't make it, but it's understandable. I don't really have much to say outside of the fact that it kind of, I won't say it kind of, it helped solidify the idea that there's more than 5 people who have an issue with the way things are ran in Alabama.
Damn straight. Yeah,
Definitely agree with what you said, Robert. Shamari Figures, we were talking about earlier. Big issue I have with him is he came out very early on and said that Alabama has to support Israel. And there's a lot of Democratic people in the state who will just support Israel no matter what. I think we do have to hit that hit that needle right there. I noticed Huntsville City Council hasn't been as outspoken as they were before on Israel because of the protests and because of so many people coming out to talk to them, even though they are still supporting Israel.
Yeah, well, they're wrong and we're right. And you know, it will be fixed. It won't be fixed tomorrow, but it will be goddamn fixed. So yeah, and I really think that a lot of it it's dependent upon folks in America to make that happen. Because like I said, Israel's been propped up for decades. And we win here, things can change across emotions. Y'all know what I'm saying? But yeah. And Robert, you spoke a little bit on electoralism. And did you declare for anything yet?
Not officially, just because I have some people I have to talk to about fundraising first. But
Okay.
yeah, I will say I'm definitely running in 2026.
Hell yeah.
Just because I don't trust the representatives I currently have in my area, and honestly, the district could do better, and I have tried to find other people to do it, and I haven't been able to find anybody. So,
And this will be your second campaign you're running in, right?
yeah, this will be my second one.
Oh man, all the nerves are gone. You're an expert now.
I mean, there really weren't no nerves in the first. Nerves in the first one because I'd already been like talking to people in general in and around my community. This is about a year before I was one of the people that helps with the free store. But because of other underlying issues that happened in and around the district, it hadn't been a problem. One of the good things about being in community is it's very easy to talk to people you've already been talking to.
Yeah. So y'all folks do like Robert, get out there in your communities, talk to folks, start finding your people and building things up. You ain't alone. You're actually in the majority. So do something, anything. And if you don't know what to do, come and ask somebody. You can email us, you can get in touch with us, you can chat with us, whatever. But yeah. Mars, you got anything else?
Oh, I did want to say, what's his name? Sotomayor
Yeah.
came very, very close to winning in Huntsville. And he didn't even really run that well. I think he started maybe a month late and had almost no money into his campaign at all. I think it was around $4,000.
I don't even think it was that much. I think it was around $2,000.
Yeah, and his opponent ran with I believe it was like 130,000.
Jesus. They got a 39
very
40.
narrow loss. So
Yeah. For he really stepped up. And he's running again as well. And I met him and talked to him, and he's a veteran. And he believes that housing is a human right. So he's got my ear. Y'all know what I'm saying? So yeah. Jason, you got anything else you'd like to say?
Not much other than join your local GSA chapter. And if you're in Alabama, especially, we need you.
And we got organizing committees down in Montgomery popping up and Mobile. And we need all 7 districts, all 7 congressional districts, and we do the dang thing. Like, hey, socialism isn't a dirty word. It's in the Constitution. Hell, how you think you get your damn mail? So yeah, join the Democratic Socialists of America. Found a chapter, join an organizing committee, or join a chapter already standing up. And yeah, I think I'm supposed to say I'm supposed to do this at the beginning. Still don't do it, but please like and share, subscribe. Yeah, this has been North Alabama DSA Cornbread and Roses podcast. All the power to all the people. We break our chains together, folks. Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever.